Hello, everyone. All right, let's see who we have here. We're going to let our attendees slowly come in. Hello, Nancy, Michael. Hi, Dr. Patty.
Hey.
Rebecca. Hi, everyone. This is our wonderful health transformation podcast with your host, Regan Archibald. My name's Ann Marked. I am the project manager, content manager. You usually see me on the back end. I'm answering questions for you. I'm actually going to be co-pilot with Regan today. And to kick off today, we're going to be talking about the incredible benefits of deep breathing. So we just started our 100-day health challenge yesterday, and it was fantastic. We're teaching one new incredible healthy habit each week for the 13 weeks. And yesterday we started with breathing, and I loved it so much and knew everyone can benefit from this that I asked Regan, I was like, can you please teach this tomorrow on the podcast? And he said yes. So I'm really excited for you to see this presentation. For those of you who may be new to this podcast, Regan is the CEO of East West Health, now powered by Anodyne. We're 5 clinics and counting. We're ever growing. There are 4 in the state of Utah, 1 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we help patients transform their health. I love Regan's mission. It's to help people, 1 million people transform and rid themselves of disease, chronic disease, and pain by 2025. So I'm going to have Regan start to speak to us about deep breathing. How are you, Regan?
I'm doing awesome. I did my deep breathing this morning. I did a little Wim Hof and an ice bath, and I'm
Nice.
feeling great.
Good. Yeah, we're going to be doing that every
Out.
day. Yeah. Excellent.
Great. Well, today, I mean, one of the things that we wanted to do is, yes, we've got our 100-day challenge, and so we are still, like right now is a great time to get into our initial group. So for those of you who have been kind of on the fence, I'm going to just give you a little taste of what it's about, and then you can make that decision like, yes, I love this. I want to get involved with the group because we're getting a lot of engagement. We've got great comments from people who are in it. And so, last night we had a different plan for today's, webinar, but we said, let's talk about breathing again. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So as we jump into this, let's just have everybody think about the one thing that we cannot live without for very long. Well, we can live without food for quite a while. We can live without the social media. I guarantee you that. We can live without our cell phones. We can live even without shelter. You can get under a tree for a certain amount of time. But the one thing that will kill us faster than anything is the lack of oxygen and lack of breathing. And so it becomes our most valuable resource, but yet I believe it's the resource we take for granted most often. And the spike in people having sleep apnea is one of the chief indicators of the fact that we are not breathing properly. And one of the things that we're going to talk about today is how you can cleanse your blood, how you can breathe properly. We're going to talk about some science of that. And we're really going to give you just like our exploration. I'm going to have you guys at least do the first of 13 challenges in this 100-day challenge that I'm taking a unique group of you through. Some of you are on this today, which I appreciate that. And so this will be a little bit of a refresher, but oh, good. Yeah, thanks, Bev. Yeah, she said last night was fantastic, so she'll get a little refresher on that. And then at the end of this, we're going to do a little cool breathing exercise together and something that you can put into your day-to-day life. But first of all, how many of you feel like you focus deliberately on breathing as a regular part of your life? And okay. And how many of you, the last time you thought about breathing was maybe when you're walking up a flight of stairs and you got winded? Right? When you don't have the breath, that's when you're like, oh man, I need to breathe. And I've seen that when people come to visit me in Utah, where it's such a higher elevation. And Ann, we'll get you out here soon, but I'll take you on some hikes. But people are always like, you're not even breathing hard, Regan. I'm like, yeah, I live up here in the mountains. So my cardiovascular function and ability to take in oxygen is improved, but not just because I live here, but also because I consciously focus on breathing. And I believe it's one of the most powerful things that you can have, because your breath is that conduit between the subconscious and the subconscious brain. And breathing is one of the most powerful things you can do, because without that connection, it becomes very, very challenging to not let stress override us and not to react to everything. And so let's pause and just take a couple of minutes and do some deep breathing. So we're going to do this nice little breathing exercise. We're going to take 5 deep breaths. There's a Japanese study that they found that just by taking 5 deep breaths can lower your cortisol levels. And so let's just start, and we'll do a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth. One more, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Okay, so today, as you're listening to this, I'm going to ask you to remove distractions, get a pen and paper, and then let's jump into some of the cool things about breathing. But before we do that, I always like to start with gratitude, because breathing, one of the things I've been able to incorporate into my gratitude practice is breathing. And so I just want to hear from you. What are some of the things, and you can plug it in the chat box, or you can write it down on your own, but what are some of the things you're most grateful for when it comes to your health? Like what are some of the breakthroughs you've had? And so just plug that in real quick. I think it's, it's really important to just get centered with gratitude. It's pretty cool, because what gratitude does from a, just like a biological perspective, is when you have gratitude, you can feel it in your heart, right? And you can feel that in your kind of your stomach and heart when you feel grateful. I've never noticed a grateful, there's nothing inspiring in my brain when I'm grateful. It's always in the body. Have you noticed that? And so there's this neurotransmitter that gets secreted called oxytocin when you're grateful. And it's that first neurotransmitter, when we're babies and we're connected with our mother, we have like this nice supply of oxytocin. And then when we go into the environment, like all of a sudden we're out of this womb, and now we have all this stimulus coming in. And the very first thing that we want to do is, we want babies to latch on and start breastfeeding. And that's a really healthy sign. But one of the chemicals in our brains that allow us to really latch onto our mother is when we start breastfeeding, we get this massive influx of oxytocin. And so it keeps us connected. And it's a survival neurotransmitter. And the most interesting thing about this is that as you're in that mode, as a baby, it goes along with this throughout life. And so when you hug somebody and you hold the hug, some studies say you got to hold it for 20 seconds or 10 seconds. Don't get awkward on people when you're hugging them. I'm not saying that, but at the same time, those hugs are what releases oxytocin. But the other thing that can do it is just by being having that practice of gratitude. And so breathing is one of the best ways you can clear your mind. You can get rid of that energy, and then you can really focus on things that you have that make you really grateful. The people in your life. My grandmother went to the hospital last night, and this morning at first I got a little bit of panic. I'm like, oh no, I do not want my grandmother to die right now. This is like the worst time in history where somebody can get sick. And she's 88. Many of you have, if you've read my book, Your Healthy Self, I wrote about my grandmother, how independent, and how she's, one of my heroes in life. And so this morning it was like, man, I had a little bit of a crisis. And then all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go into gratitude mode for my grandmother. And it changed all of that kind of cortisol, the stress that was going on. It changed it into, you know what? My grandmother's going to go in, she's going to go out. She had some chest pain. She had stents put in a few months ago. And so they've just, the doctors are confident that she can get out of there. But it was the gratitude for my grandmother. I was like, you know what? I really appreciate her life. I appreciate the work ethic that she taught me. I appreciate the fact that she always showed me love no matter what. I really appreciate what would happen as a kid on Christmas, because, you know, my family, my parents would have a couple of gifts, but when my grandma would show up, it was like unload the trunk and the Christmas tree was like full of like perfectly wrapped gifts. I don't even remember what she gave me, but I do remember the feeling that she always brought when it came to holidays or birthdays. She always made me feel special. So I really appreciate my grandmother today. So that's my gratitude. So what are some of the gratitudes that you guys have? What are anything that came through, Anne?
Yeah, we have really good ones. Thank you guys. So Jan shared that she's thankful for betterment, physical, emotional, social, spiritual health than ever before in her life. Thank you. Um,
Wow.
we have Becky. She said she feels blessed to have eyesight, arms, legs, fingers, toes, hearing, taste, smell, great framework for the body. It's so true. I take that for granted myself. And yeah, we have, I think Lisa was saying too, just how important deep breathing is in general, how she's seen that for herself in her life too. Thank you for sharing, Lisa.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And it's so easy to take these things for granted, and so easy to take, you know, that fundamental source of light and love and goodness is breathing. So in the Hawaiian culture, many of you know, I studied in Hawaii. I went to the Integrated Medical School of Hawaii, spent 4 years on the Big Island, and the aloha, the ha is the breath. And when traditional Polynesians, when the Hawaiian Islanders, when they would greet each other, they would touch noses and they would breathe each other's breath. So they would actually take in the essence of the person they were connecting with, which, you know, is really powerful. Unless someone has really bad breath, then it might not be the most pleasant. But I don't think they're eating some pretty darn good food back in the day. So, you know, it's just a really beautiful thing. So as we talk about breathing today, you know, what I want to do is just make sure that we cover some of the science, but what's at the foundational piece that I think is even more powerful? Science is just the way that we describe things right now. But I think what's more powerful than just focusing on the science of breath is focus on the feeling of breathing. Because, you know, so many of us, we just think our body is this like, it's like our car that carries our head around. But, you know, you're going to be so much more intelligent, have so much greater experience in life if you can actually start connecting this head and body. And so breathing is that place where you can really connect the two. So let's jump in and we'll talk some about the science, and then we're going to go through, I'll give you a little recap of last night. We're not going to go through everything. But I do want to share with you guys some of the cool things about breathing. Did we have a couple more comments that came through, Anne?
Let me double check. I think Dr. Patty just shared, thank you, Dr. Patty, that she's grateful for like-minded health conscious people. And I said, yes, community. It's so true.
Man, and I'm grateful for you, Dr. Patty. You know, just always positive. Even in some of the most stressful circumstances that I've seen you operate in, you just always had like this, you know, if I was going to war, I would want Patty to be the general of the army. I mean, she would make the right decision.
So
and,
true.
and you've been to war with Patty, basically. I mean, you guys worked together for quite a while there. So
yeah, she's a mentor and a wonderful human being. If you don't know Dr. Patty, you're lucky if you know her. I look up to her a lot, and she taught me, yes, how to keep sane and reduce stress in very stressful situations.
yeah. Yes, and many of you on this are my hero. I'm grateful for all of you. So thanks for being part of this beautiful community. So, okay, so let's talk about breathing, and we'll jump into some of the science of it. So why breathing? Now let's get some evidence. You're like, Regan, you're so woo-woo today. You're all, you know, soft on me, but, you know, I love that stuff. But let's talk about some of the science. So James Nestor, if you guys want a great book about kind of the science, he calls it A New Science of a Lost Art. So breathing is the fastest way to die. The very first lesson my Japanese teacher taught me is to breathe. Well, actually, the number one lesson she taught me to do was to clean her clinic before she would teach me anything. So I would prove that I'm ready to be her student. In the United States, you know, we write a check and then it's like, okay, now I'll teach you. You know, we pay a lot of money to get educated. In the Japanese culture, they don't even, there's no money exchange. It's an energetic exchange. And so after a couple of months of sweeping my teacher's porch, finally, this is when I was in school, she told me I could come observe her treat a patient. And the very first lesson she taught me was, don't move the air. And I was like, what does that mean? And so I was in there trying not to breathe. And then when I watched her, I mean, I watched this beautiful exchange of a patient who was, you know, terminally ill, and she let the patient know that it's okay to die. And so she was there teaching the patient how to breathe and how to really get her energy circulated so that she could get comfortable enough to die. And this is a patient who had hung on with cancer for 7 years. I mean, her husband was in there. He had dark circles under his eyes. You know, you could tell she was fighting for something that she didn't need to fight for anymore. And her husband told her it was okay to go. And so my very first experience of seeing this amazing healer who I'd learned so much about was her teaching a person how to die. And it just reframed my whole thinking about what healing really is. And so that woman actually passed away that night. Her husband called the next day and was in tears and said, thank you so much for allowing my patient to transition into the next phase of life. And so it was really powerful, but it was breath. And I was not breathing because I misunderstood what my teacher meant by don't move the air. She just meant she didn't want any dialogue from Regan. I'm a student. I don't know anything. Just watch, you know, I'm a fly on the wall. But then when we got out, she says, Regan, you got sick breathing. You breathe too shallow. I'm like, I was trying not to breathe. And so then she went on and she taught me how to breathe. And so it's a very important thing. So if you look at your sinuses, the best way to breathe is through your nose. And one of the things that you don't realize is you could put your fist inside your sinuses. There's this massive space right there. So when people call you an airhead, you want to say, thank you. I am an airhead because I'm breathing all the time and I'm breathing through my nose. And I always tell people an airhead is better than a mouth breather. Man, that's a good line right there. An airhead's better than a mouth breather, right? That's a bumper sticker. Instead of all the political stickers, let's put that on our bumpers. But so breathing is really important. So just a few deep breaths, what the research shows, it can lower cortisol levels and increase parasympathetic tone. So the difference between sympathetic and parasympathetic, this is part of what's called your autonomic nervous system. So there's certain things that happen in your body that you don't even have to think about. So what are some of those things, Anne, that you can think about that your body's doing right now that you have no conscious awareness of?
Yeah, so when we're in parasympathetic mode, or what I like to call rest and digest mode, things are just moving the way they should. The body knows what to do. You aren't telling it what to do. You can't really tell it what to do. But when we're in fight or flight, I was actually describing this to a client yesterday. All of that energy goes to our extremities. And so, and it's no longer focused whatsoever on basic needs for health. It's focused on survival. It literally believes, our body believes in that moment that we're in danger. And so I'll actually teach clients, hey, you need to be in parasympathetic mode when you're eating, just one simple thing. Because otherwise, if you're anxious or actually body's in fight or flight while you're trying to eat, you're not going to digest your food. It's literally trying to get you out of that situation. Same with as women, if we're trying to have a healthy pregnancy and we're chronically in fight or flight, the body's just trying to protect us, and it doesn't see the need to get the body prepared for that. It's like, no, I got to take care of you. I've got to, make sure that you're safe. So yeah, it's those basic processes are the ones that happen when we're relaxed and the body just knows what to do.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And so one of the conduits is next time you get stressed, or some of you will be driving. I mean, thousands of people are going to listen to this once it gets published onto our podcast page. And so for those of you driving, listening to this, just practice breathing. Next time you want to wing some of the bird or have a reaction because you got cut off, just realize, like, in the scheme of things, it doesn't matter. Like, we're all, you don't know what that crazy driver is up against, and they forgot to breathe, and so they're driving crappy. But imagine if everyone just did some deep breathing while they were driving. How much more peaceful would that be? One of the things I loved, I lived in Park City, and I'd commute down to Salt Lake for about 12 years. And I would practice breathing all the way up and down the canyon. And it was a great way. When I would get home at night from work, I was just fresh. I mean, it was as if I was, just woken up in the morning, and so I could be present with my kids, my family. But if I, on the days I'd forget to breathe, or I'm on phone calls and talking about, the day, or talking about tomorrow and planning and doing all the things that we do, I'd get home and I'd still be in work mode. And so breathing can just reset your state of being. What it does is it alkalizes your blood pH. So we run people's blood labs, and I've seen many of yours, and what we find is your carbon dioxide levels are too high. You've got you look at this number, your your alkalizing phosphatate, and this is scary because many of you are not breathing. We can see it in your labs. We see an increase in your ALT and your AST, and these are liver markers that can show that it starts to cause inflammation in your liver. And just breathing alone is one of the best things you can do to detox your liver. It increases muscle tone. If you think about your diaphragm is this huge muscle. And last night, Ann shared with us about singing. Ann's a singer, and she has agreed to sing the Star Spangled Banner today for everybody. But yeah, she's like, oh. So that caused Dan to breathe a little bit. But yeah, and when you breathe, when you go to sing, what do you need to do before you can ever belt out any kind of, melody?
Yeah, this is from when I was 13 in middle school choir class. I'll never forget it. He'd know if we were breathing improperly, or we'd also know if we were raising our shoulders. He'd say, give me a deep breath. And if we were breathing and our shoulders went up to our ears, oh, that's a very shallow breath. That's not going to work for singing. And it also, I was saying last night, you can convince your body by breathing improperly that you're in fight or flight by breathing shallowly. So you want to get a deep belly breath. And that's why singers tend to have they have to have really good breathing, but your diaphragm's just this muscle around your rib cage, and it's actually like pushing down almost in a U shape and then going back up. And so you want to focus on keeping the shoulders very relaxed and breathing basically like right below the rib cage. And then you're getting into a deeper, relaxed breathing situation.
Yeah, so let's try it right now. So everyone let's try and keep your chest kind of upright. So if you can stand up, and you want to put your pinky and thumb. I got my Apollo device on. If you guys haven't tried that device, I actually really dig it. But just see if you can't lift your chest, keep your back straight. You don't want it to go out like that. Keep your back straight. And see if you can't just lift up your midsection just a little bit with your diaphragm. And so you're bringing your shoulders down. Don't let them crunch up, like Ann said, but you're just expanding this midsection, because imagine the more space you have for your heart and for your liver, for your kidneys, for your stomach, for your intestines, all your organs start to get space, and then they can heal much quicker. And so most of us, we walk around like this, and we got tech neck because we're focused on a phone or we're on a computer. And so just stand up real quick and try to create some extra space so you can feel it. So we're going to take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, in through your nose, out through your mouth. And so what you should feel is you should feel your chest expanding this way instead of this way. How many of you notice when you're breathing, it's all compressing and then relax? So ideally, you want to be using your muscles so that you have all this nice integrity in your core, so that when you're breathing, things are staying in place. And so one of the techniques that we trained on last night, I won't share all of them, but I'll give you a few. But one of them is where you grab your hands and you put them together as if you're pushing a ball. We call this sword and the stone in So Tai Ho. And so what you're doing is you're stretching out your thoracic spine. So you're squeezing your arms all the way out. And so you're going to exhale. and squeeze everything out. And then inhale, and you're going to twist your arms back like this and inhale, and you're going to be touching your elbows together like so. And then try it again. So you're going to exhale and inhale. If you're driving, this is going to be really complicated. Exhale, squeeze that, and then inhale. And exhale. Then open up your spine and inhale. So you should feel some muscle activation. Exhale. Now you're feeling your shoulders push forward. You're feeling your pecs. You're really squeezing your strong chest. And then that's a great way you can start opening up your back and just really retraining those muscles. So part of how you're breathing. So remember, breathe through your nose. Mouth breathing is one of the most dangerous things you can do. And so I did an experiment where I taped my mouth shut because snoring, which we'll talk about in a minute, is so dangerous to your overall health. And I taped my mouth shut because my wife was like, "Oh, you're snoring lately." And I was like, "What? That's weird." And then she said, "Yeah." And this was a few years ago. And so I started doing research on it. And I said, "Oh no, I must be mouth breathing when I'm asleep." And remember, I'll take an airhead over a mouth breather any day, and I'll be an airhead over a mouth breather. And so I said, all right, I need to start doing some breathing exercises before I go to sleep at night. And I need to make sure that there's no mold. I realized I've been sleeping on the same pillow for a long time. And I said, I need to just get rid of that pillow, get a new one in. I got my environment corrected, and it made a huge change, but I had to do breathing before I went to bed at night. But yeah, when I taped my mouth shut, I woke up in the morning and that tape was completely like opened up. And so one of the ways you can see if you're a mouth breather at night is you can tape your mouth shut. And if you have a beard, you use masking tape. Otherwise, it's going to be really uncomfortable the next day. All right. So pretty interesting. So one of the things that happens when we breathe that we talked about last night is when you are breathing, and you breathe really deep and you get lots of breaths going like pretty quick, you're going to get tingling sensation. So let's try this right now. I want you to just activate that tingling sensation. So we're going to take like 12 deep breaths, and we're really going to get that activation of these calcium ions and calcium channels, because I think everyone's experienced that, but let's try it right now. So just follow my lead, and we're going to do deep breath in. We're going to inhale twice as long as our exhale. So 7, 12. Whoa. How many of you feel you're lightheaded? Woo! Where are we going? We're on a different planet. So you can feel your head kind of fuzzy and buzzing. And can you feel it in your hands, Anne? Feel that little tingly? And you can feel it in your feet, your toes. You can feel it in your belly. Well, what happens is you have calcium ions that are circulating in your blood. And when your blood becomes really acidic, the calcium cannot get carried to the bones, which is one reason we have so much osteoporosis and osteopenia. But the other thing that calcium can't do is that ionized calcium does not go into creating ATP, or it doesn't create an energetic exchange in the muscle fibers. So one of the things that happens is you breathe really fast like that, is you get calcium that moves into the smooth muscle so that you get better contractions in your blood vessels and better contractions in your lymphatic system. So one of the things you can do to activate your calcium every single day is just do some nice breathing. So that feels kind of good, doesn't it? How many of you got a little buzz just from doing that? So forego the beer at night, right? Do some breathing, or forego the coffee. Like, let's just get some breathing going on. So it's awesome. Here's a study out of Yale. This is interesting because Wim Hof, who we'll talk about in a minute, one of my heroes, just a breath work genius. And what Wim Hof did is Wim Hof did a study where they said, with my breathing technique and my cold exposure, I can make myself immune to a bacterial toxin that you're going to directly IV into my body. And so they did a study, and they found that this epinephrine surge that he would get by his breathing technique it activated an immune response. And then what happened is that IV bacterial toxins, it didn't impact him. He was not sick after that. Not only could Wim Hof do that, but he trained other people how to do that. And they were able to use this bacterial toxin to see if the participants would get sick, like most of us would get sick. But because of the breathing, it activated this innate immune response so that the body could counteract that infection coming in. Pretty cool, right? So breathing. Yeah, I think I wish Dr. Fauci would talk about breathing instead of like, well, let's put more masks on our face. It's like, actually, we should probably just breathe. I guarantee you there's some power to that. So breathing elevates your mood. So one of the beautiful things about breathing is, just like you guys felt that nice little buzz, is it creates this nice elevation in your mood. When your blood's alkalized, then you have better opening or dilation in your blood vessels. Your blood vessels constrict appropriately, and you have this greater oxygen delivery to your brain by 40%. So, Anne, you talked about yawning yesterday. Why do most people yawn?
Yeah, I remember back in college, our main instructor was like, you can't yawn, always cover your mouth. So we're always like very conscious of it. But then I remember learning that yawning is actually a very good thing. And it's telling us that we need more oxygen, that the brain is craving more oxygen. It's not just because we're tired. So yeah, I loved what you had to say about that too, that it's a benefit. And I remember learning in some good brain techniques to actually like make yourself yawn, that even that can have some nice benefits.
Yeah, let's all try yawning. I'm not feeling it right. But yeah, if you could, we got so much oxygen in our brain right now because we've been breathing. It's kind of hard to yawn, but yawning is contagious. If you see one person yawn, then it goes over and over again. And so yawning is one of those, it's a symptom that your brain needs more oxygen. And so that's one of the reasons we yawn at night, is because you can go longer without food than you can go without sleep. And so the reason why our brains need to sleep is because it helps detoxify our brains. It gets rid of all of the junk and garbage, the metabolic waste that builds up in our brains at night. And so you're yawning because your brain's like, look, I need a detox. I need to purge. And so that yawn, it just like kind of puts you in a sleepy state. Either you go to sleep and you take a nap, or you fall asleep at night. But what is the key indicator when we know somebody's sleeping? What do you notice when somebody actually falls asleep, Anne, versus they're faking it?
I feel like they go into a very deep, steady breath where it almost like looks like they're not breathing at all. It's so calm.
Yeah, their breathing is just so methodical, and you can hear it. It's like, or you hear someone fall asleep and you hear kind of like, and like it's almost like, oh, I can breathe at last. It's like the body is just like so tired of not breathing. The parasympathetic nervous system kicks in and says, let me just heal Regan for a minute. This dude is so wound up, he's not breathing. We're just going to knock him out for a minute and we're going to reboot him. So that's, it's a beautiful thing when you think about it. So breathing works for immunity. Breathing works for relaxation. You guys know that. Breathing is, as you know, if we could bottle all the benefits of breathing, I mean, you would have the most powerful medicine on the planet. Because not only is it activating, we talked about that oxytocin that it activates, especially if you put your tongue at the roof of your mouth when you're breathing. But the other thing that happens is your breathing is that way that you can regulate your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. It's a way you keep your body out of the stress mode. And we know oxidative stress is one of those things we can measure. We can look at your C-reactive protein in your labs. We can look at homocysteine. And we've seen just by doing breathing exercises, those numbers drop. So why not breathe? It's the best medicine that we have available. And so breathing also changes our posture. And so how are you sitting right now? So I'm gonna ask you guys, like, let's try to breathe when we're hunched over like this. So hunch your body down and now take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Deep breath. Take a deeper breath. You guys are breathing so shallow. I can feel it. So deeper. Deep, deep breath in and out. It feels weird, doesn't it? What does that feel like, Ann?
Yeah, my whole body is just like crunched. It's not a great feeling.
Yeah, it actually kind of made me dizzy in the back of my head. And now, how are kids sitting? You know, what are they doing with this little device that we all have? You know, like, holy cow. And so I make sure, and I like, you know, I'll wake up my kids sometimes. I'll tickle my daughter, or I'll say, hey, and I'll bring their phone from their lap up in front of their face like that. I'm like, hey, if you need to text somebody, that's great, because I believe in communication. It's powerful, and that's a communication tool. But at the same time, man, it's wrecking our posture. And so if you feel like there's a posture that you're like, oh, I think this is a normal posture, and you're like this, so now slouch to the right. Try to take a deep breath to the right. Okay, that didn't feel very good. Let's try it to the left. Maybe this is better. How you feeling, Ann? I'm not getting any oxygen in.
Not so good. Yeah.
Good.
I really do believe that breathing is one of the most, probably the most underutilized yet powerful tool we have to be healthy, which is why I'm glad we're talking about this as the foundation. Because I still overlook it all the time. So I'm excited to be consciously implementing good breathing techniques each day, because then it's just going to get into my body, and hopefully like throughout the day I'm breathing in a more expansive way and not forgetting to breathe or contracting or going into sympathetic mode when I least expect it.
Right. Oh man, I can tell you the very first time I learned how to breathe was at the age of 13. I read a book called Inner Athlete by Dan Millman. And it was a book that my dad actually gave me, but my mom bought it for my dad to give to me. So I got to give credit to my mom. But the book was powerful because he was an Olympic trampolinist, and he would do all these flips in the air. But what he would do before he would compete is he would visualize himself going through these spinning techniques, and he would get in a breathing. He'd get in a meditative state by first breathing. And so that was my first exposure to it. And I remember the only way I could get out of farm work is if I made the basketball team, the track team, the football team. And so I realized, like, I've got to be a better athlete. I was not naturally gifted. And so I would do these visualizations where I'd be breathing, you know, at a young age. And I realized the power of that. And then when I go get on the basketball court, as typically I was the shortest dude on the team, but I would just stay in this mindset where I could just, the floor would open up. I would see where the ball was going before the pass would occur. It was almost like a way of being able to predict the future just by getting in that mindfulness state and that state of visualizing how you want things to go. It's so breathing is so powerful. And you're right, Ann. I do agree with you that it's the most, you know, valued thing that we have right now is breath. And so you think about what breath does is, if you're sitting better, if you have proper posture, what are you going to look like when you're 80? You know, if you start right now.
Yeah, I remember doing, I don't know if anyone's familiar with Alexander technique, but it's a way of moving through space. And I took some courses in New York City many years ago, and I didn't literally grow, but I got remeasured, and I had sort of grown an inch, and I'm already like short enough as it is, grown an inch just because I was holding myself properly. So it's amazing how, like, they'll teach you, okay, here's how to hold your cell phone, like you're talking about. Here's how to just be walking. Here's how to be running properly so that you're not unintentionally, cutting yourself off and not as relaxed, like putting yourself and your body into a stress state.
Man, yeah, that's beautiful. And as you're breathing, I mean, from a physiological perspective, our discs, you know, we have discs between all of our vertebrae. I mean, you have 7 cervical spine, you've got 12 thoracic, and then you've got 5 lumbar spines. And in between each one of those vertebrae, you have this disc, and it's got fluid in the middle of it. And if you're not breathing properly, those discs just really get collapsed and dehydrated. And so part of what breathing does is your sacrum is slowly moving, and the sacrum's that triangular bone at the bottom of your spine. and then it's creating this nice influx of cerebral spinal fluid. And so the cerebral spinal fluid is what's cleansing your brain. And so the better you breathe, the more your brain's going to cleanse and the less you'll probably yawn. Yawning is really good for you because it's like, okay, now we're breathing. We're opening up the cerebral spinal fluid. But imagine if you have correct posture, you're going to move that cerebral spinal fluid and then your discs are going to stay nice and hydrated. And then you do grow an inch, right, Ed? Or 2 inches in some cases, because our patients who have degenerative disc disease and we retrain their posture, holy smokes, suddenly they're taller. Their head's like whoop, goes up. So think about how you're driving. Are you hunching your shoulders? Are you stressed? You're driving with your shoulders in your ears. If you spend an entire day sitting in an unnatural position, and if you're not going from sitting to standing, you're going to have challenges overall. And so if you look at living to be over 80, the breath work is the most important thing you can do. It's going to keep your brain healthy, your posture healthy. And when your posture's healthy, all your organs will just function much better because they have space. Stress, dealing with stress, think about breathing, using your mobile phones, and then watching TV. And we talked about this last night. Everyone who has a couch has to throw it away, according to my teacher. So Anne's like, I love my couch. So that's all right. Watch, but you see in a comfortable couch, you just kind of sink into it. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it definitely doesn't drive good posture by any means. And I don't want to be a couch potato. It's good to be moving more than it is sitting.
Yeah, if you think about like a potato, it's like, yeah, you just, it doesn't have limbs, So sit on your couch, but make sure, you're putting a pillow behind you so you're upright. You'll enjoy your show much more if you're watching a movie. And one thing about movies is if you've ever seen a horror movie, it's so fun when you hear the breathing going on with the actors. If there's a tense scene and you hear them go, and they're looking around and they're all scared and they have that gasp for air. It makes it so much more intense. I love watching scary movies with my mom because my mom is the most excitable person you could ever meet. When I was a kid, I used to love playing jokes on her. I'd hear my mom walking down the hall and I would jump out, ha! And my mom, she would just lose her mind just a little bit. And I don't know why, but she's just like that. But when she watches a movie, she literally, I can hear her breathing the whole time. She's like, don't do that. She's talking to the actors. Like she's as if she's in the movie. My mom is very creative and a huge imagination. And I love watching her, just her reactions to the movies. So I don't watch movies much, but when I do, I love watching it with my mom. If I want to watch my mom more than the movie, it makes it really fun. So, all right. So anyway, let's talk about sleeping a little bit. So sleeping, how many of you snore? How many of you aren't sure if you snore? I have an app, what is the app called? I had an app that actually would track my snoring. And now I just use Sleep Cycle now, but I've used the Aura Ring, which is great. But I did have an app that would actually track snoring. And so it's pretty interesting because it would start recording it. So I could know, okay, at 2 a.m, all of a sudden, Regan, you started snoring. And one of the things that would happen is as your body posture changes, your tongue can relax into the back of your throat, and then it can cause snoring. And so I was wondering, like, man, I slept really good last night, I thought. But then I look at my app and I was like, oh, 3 times last night I started snoring. And so that's when I really started getting into it and realized how important it is to breathe before I go to bed at night. Because think about how you want to start your day. Well, your day starts by the night's sleep. And as one of my trainers said, your next workout, this workout is only as good as your last recovery. So it's same. It's like the next day is only as good as your last night's sleep. And so one of the things you can do to breathe better is by sleeping on your side. And so side sleeping, as I'll show you in some of the studies here, side sleeping can actually help improve your breathing. It's better for stomach acids. It can help improve your heart function. It takes a little bit of the pressure off that. Is better brain function. It's also a way to empty out bile secretions from your liver. So your liver at night, it makes a lot of bile between 1 and 3 a.m. Bile is B-I-L-E. I know it sounds like I'm saying bio, but I'm saying bile. And bile is a fat emulsifier, and it also helps absorb toxins. So it helps you excrete toxins out of your body. So it's really important to have that. So if you sleep on your side, one of the things that can help you do is not snore. Because it, once again, your tongue, when you're on your side, your tongue does not slide into the back of your throat. I love it in Chinese medicine. When you're on your back, it's like you are facing the universe, and you're waiting for, whatever message, your destiny is dumped out of the Big Dipper into your kidneys. And so at night, when you're sleeping up into the sky, that Big Dipper is just pouring out your destiny of the next day into your soul. So I like that poetic side of it, but from a practical perspective, it's not the best way for breathing. Because if you have breathing deprivation, it's going to impair your cognition. It can increase symptoms of depression. You'll have higher levels of anxiety, increased risk of breast cancer, they've found, increased risk for heart disease, weight gain, increased risk for diabetes, and then stroke risk can go up too. So recent studies have found that kids who snore have a significantly decreased academic performance than kids who don't. They found that in the reverse experiment, kids who snore, they have daytime sleepiness, they have hyperactivity, they have restless sleep. They're all common in snorers. So try sleeping on your side. That can be really helpful. The other thing you got to realize is that your brain is using about 20% of your metabolic electrical energy when you're awake. But when we're asleep, that number goes up to 25%. So that's pretty crazy. And what's it like when you wake up and you can remember your dreams? Or have you had much lucid dreaming before?
Oh man, I love when I can remember my dreams. I don't always, but yeah, just even as you're talking about all of this and just the power that breathing has on sleep, and sleep, we know, is so incredibly important for health. I'm just thinking back to when I was in high school and even the beginning of college. I probably didn't get more than 5 to 6 hours a night. It wasn't great quality. I was always tired as a kid because I was an overachiever. I would do tons of extracurriculars outside of school. So I literally have to come back and like take a half day from school, nap for 3 hours. It was really bad. And then like go to play practice or something. And I'm
Oh,
like, oh man, like I wish I had known and learned these things then, because I bet even academically, it would have helped me so much more to just have that level of energy that my brain needed.
crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hindsight, I mean, I look back and I'm like, man, if I had the tools that I have now, I guess that's what experience and wisdom gives you. It's just, life is so fascinating that way. But yeah, when you're sleeping, one of the things that happens is you have this glymphatic system in your brain. And this is a recent discovery, but this glymphatic system is similar to the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system makes it up to about our neck, and then it stops when it gets to the brain. But you have the glymphatic system that is like the garbage disposal. And that thing gets activated when we're sleeping. So one of the worst things that happens is people cram for a test all night long, and then they go and take the test, and they're sleep deprived and they don't remember anything. You'd be much better off, research shows, is just get a good night's sleep. Put that stuff in your subconscious brain, and your brain will figure it out at night. And so I read that study before I even started college. And I was one of the weird kids who made it through high school with zero homework. I made a goal of mine to never bring homework home from high school. So I would do it at breaks and between class. I'd do it fast while it was fresh in my brain. And then I had a similar goal in college. I said, you know what, I'm not, when I'm in class, I'm going to focus enough and I'm going to learn. And so it was breathing that actually helped me do that from that Inner Athlete book as a kid. So pretty crazy. So if you look at the effect of this, so here's the study I mentioned I was going to share. So this is on rats, and rats don't always equate to humans, unless some of us are rats on this. I don't think we have any rats on the show, but but what they did is they took these rodents and they looked at the amount of waste that was released from the rats at night when they were sleeping, or whenever they put the rats to sleep. They put these MRIs to show the rats sleeping supine, or on their back, or the rat sleeping prone or on their stomach, and then the rat sleeping in this lateral recumbent position, so on their sides. And what they found is that the rats who slept on their side had more deposit of waste faster than the rats that slept on their backs or on their stomachs. And so their brains were actually more active when they woke up by sleeping on their side. So there you go. All right, so now for the last 5 minutes, what we're going to do is we are going to go through a beautiful Wim Hof breathing challenge. And so this is the 100-day challenge we've set the course on with several of you who are in our 100-day pro challenge. And Anne, are we still allowing people to join up on that 100-day challenge?
So just for today, yesterday, you guys, was so good. I was like, I really want to present one more time. I know a lot of you come on to this every week on Thursdays for the podcast. So this is the first of the 13 habits. We only teach one a week. Regan guides just like he is today. The deep breathing, like each of these is so powerful. These are tools you can use for the rest of your life, and they're going to impact all areas of your health. The theme is it's a fat burning challenge for the 100 days, but truly it's a health challenge. If you want to focus on energy, brain power, performance, if you're into fitness, these habits will help all of those things. Above and beyond these habits, you get a lot of other great goodies. So before we hop off, I'll be sure to give my email so that you can contact me for more details. But truly, I mean, already I'm so excited just to have the accountability to do these things every day. And starting off with like a powerful Wim Hof breathing exercise, I was like, oh man, 100 days from now, I'm really excited to see how far my health has come.
Awesome. Okay, so Anne will provide the links. So if you guys want to get involved in this, I'd love to have you in the group. It's really fun already. We have a WhatsApp chat going on. And so did you see my picture this morning? And before I did, I'm like, all right, I'm doing my Wim Hof in an ice bath.
Yes.
I took a pre-picture. You guys do not want to see me in the bath. I guarantee that. But I took a pre-picture of that. So yeah, we're getting some cool engagement too. So. All right, so let's talk about this. So who is Wim Hof? Well, he's one of my heroes. Wim Hof had, an experience where he learned the power of cold and how these cold, he says, is where you find God. It's like, that's our teacher, is cold. And a lot of us, we have an aversion to cold. And so it takes a minute to really get warmed up to our teachers. Just like my Japanese teacher is, in the beginning, I was like, she hates me and she's so rude and obnoxious and abrupt, but it was exactly what the young version of Regan needed. And so, but what Wim Hof has learned is that when you breathe, the only way you can really learn from cold is if you control your breathing. Otherwise, cold just, will absorb you. And so he created this breathing technique, and it is also a Tibetan breathing technique, or, I've studied a lot of Zen Buddhism. So it's not, Wim Hof, he cultivated some of this, but it comes from ancient traditions. And then now in the modern day, this also could be considered holotropic breathing. So it's a way of getting your body to release this beautiful chemical, this molecule called DMT, which is the spirit molecule. And DMT is very closely related to melatonin. Melatonin is very closely related to oxytocin. So it's a great way of engaging your body. And you get this nice secretion of epinephrine and norepinephrine. So let's go through this. So what we're going to do is breathe 30 times. We're going to do one cycle of this. And if you are driving, I don't recommend that you do this. I mean, make sure you take it nice and easy, because you might get dizzy and you might wreck your car. So just listen to this, do it light. But what we're going to do is 30 deep breaths. We're going to do one round. I'm going to encourage you guys to do 3 rounds. In our challenge, what we're doing is 3 rounds of Wim Hof breathing in the morning, 3 rounds at night before bed. And this can get rid of your sleep apnea. It can clear out your sinuses. It can really help oxygenate your body so you sleep like an amazing champion. Okay, so let's try it out. So we're going to do 30 deep breaths. At the end, I'm going to say hold, and then you're going to hold, and we're going to hold it for a minute. I'm going to have a timer here. Some of you can make it, some of you won't. There's no competition here, but let me get my timer set up so that when we get to the end, I'll set that for you. Okay, and I'm ready. Clear out your nose. All right, so here we go. Ready? Inhale, exhale, 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 inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth, inhale, exhale, 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 inhale, exhale. Okay, let's give it everything. So 5 more. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. Last one. Exhale, all of the breath out. Exhale and hold, hold. 1 minute. You've got this. Just really focus on your breathing, focus on the sensations in your body. Feel the tingling. Just really let your body rest. Don't breathe, just hold it. Lower your heart rate, slow things down. Relax and slow things down. You're doing great. You're halfway there, more than halfway there. Just focus on your heart, focus on your chest. Let things come nice and relaxed. And we're going to take a deep breath in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. Hold it for 10 seconds. And exhale. All right. And so that's a round of Wim Hof. I want to thank Wim Hof for making this so accessible. You can get it online, his Wim Hof breathing. And how did you guys feel? So how many of you are ready to do some more breathing in your life?
Yeah, we got people raising hands. Absolutely.
Love it. All right. Well, beautiful. Yay. Look at all those. Awesome. Well, good. Well, you guys keep going about your day. Breathe, 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 breathe. And when you aren't sure what to do in life, just breathe. Oh, and by the way, if you're ever confused about something, we'll start with breathing. If you're ever mad, start with breathing. If you want to love deeper, breathe more, have a better life, just breathe more. It all goes down to breathing. So, all right, Ann, was that helpful today?
That was so good. Thanks, Reagan.
You got it. All right. Love you guys. We'll see you next week. And then I hope to see more of you get into our 100-day challenge. Today is the final day. We opened it up for just a window to get a few more of you beautiful people in, and then it's gone. And then we'll be doing these challenges live for the next 100 days. And then you'll have an opportunity when we open it up, you can go with the recorded version. So thanks so much, everybody. Really appreciate you guys. Deanne, did you have a question here, or is a hand raised, or just, yes, you're going to breathe more?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.